Hello and welcome to GMAT by Physics Wala, where we keep helping you in order to level up your preparation. So here is another session of the GMAT Master Series where you and I are going to work together on verbal reasoning and we'll practice some more critical reasoning. The specific agenda that we have for today is weakening the argument, one very frequently asked question type in the exam. And because a lot of people do on and off struggle with it, I thought that, hey, why not go ahead and pick up some 655 to 705 level questions today and put you to paces. So let's go ahead and begin. So first up, whenever a question asks us to weaken the argument, and there are quite a few different ways in which they ask us to do that, what exactly it is that we are supposed to do. So if I were to talk about it in a nutshell, then I will tell you that the correct answer choice needs to bring in a new piece of information that does what? Exactly this. That new piece of information should go ahead and somehow attack the premises involved in that argument or the assumptions involved in that argument. So any answer choice that does that will successfully manage to weaken the conclusion. One very common mistake that people make is that they choose an answer choice that goes ahead and contradicts the conclusion directly. Well, that's not weakening the argument. If you want to weaken, you need to do it through the different components of that argument itself. And even among those components, we basically look for an option that either contradicts a premise or an assumption or challenges a premise or an assumption by providing evidence that reduces our trust on the support for that conclusion. So let's go ahead and work on these things together. Here is question number 1 on your screen. All that I want you to do right now is hit pause, solve it, take your time, don't rush, and once you are done, come back, join me, and we will discuss it together. Here you go. I hope that you have an answer in your mind. Let's go ahead and start. So we typically start with the question stem. Which of the following, if true, would cast the most doubt on the effectiveness of the authorities' plan to finance the proposed improvements by increasing bridge tolls? So the moment we see this, would cast the most doubt, you know that this is one way of asking us to weaken something. So in this specific case, what is it that we want to weaken? We'll find a plan here, shared by an authority. That plan involves financing some kind of improvements by increasing bridge tolls, and we need to prove that, hey, that plan is not going to work. So let's go ahead and see what that plan exactly is, and we'd also in the process look at the premises or the assumptions that support it. So according to the Tri-State Transportation Authority, making certain improvements to the main commuter rail line would increase ridership dramatically. Okay, तो भाई एक रेल लाइन है, कम्यूटर रेल लाइन है, तो मतलब बहुत सारे कम्यूटर्स जो रोज एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ट्रैवल करने के लिए उसे यूज करते हैं, अगर उसमें आपने इंप्रूवमेंट्स कर दिए तो आपकी राइडरशिप बढ़ जाएगी. The authority plans to finance these improvements over the course of 5 years by raising automobile tolls on the 2 highway bridges along the route the rail line serves. Now see, normally if you want to finance a project, you typically involve the stakeholders of that project. पर यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? We say that, okay, we need to earn some money in order to bring in these improvements. So what will we do? We have 2 bridges on the highway next to the rail line. On those bridges, when somebody travels, an automobile, a car, a truck, a bus travels, then we charge them a toll. अब इंडिया में रहते हैं हम, हमें तो टोल वोल पता ही है ना. So we are going to raise the toll. So we charge more money from those guys and spend that money on improving the commuter rail line. Although the proposed improvements are indeed needed, the authorities' plan for securing the necessary funds should be rejected because it would unfairly force drivers to absorb the entire cost of something from which they receive no benefit. Right? So What is their plan now? When you say authorities plan to finance, what is the plan? Increase the toll. So the assumption is that increasing that toll will bring in enough money to bring in these improvements here. The assumption is that it is not unfair. The author here says that it is unfair because they receive no benefit. But then these guys, these authorities may believe that no, it is fair. Maybe even those guys are getting some benefit out of it. Maybe those guys are driving the cars today because they find the commuter rail line to be inadequate. So once that gets fixed, they'd be able to switch over. Or if some people, if I don't switch over, somebody else does, at least I will see reduced traffic on my route. So those kind of assumptions, right? So, but we want to weaken it. We want to somehow say that no, this plan is not going to work. So let's start. A, before the authority increases tolls on any of the area bridges, it is required by law to hold public hearings at which objections to the proposed increase can be raised. Okay, so let us say that they held some public hearings, they listened to people and they offered them an answer that they found reasonable. Now they can go ahead and do that, right? So how does it really affect the effectiveness of their plan? It has no impact on that. You can remove it. It just says that, hey, there is a process that they need to go through. B, whenever bridge tolls are increased, the authority must pay a private contractor to adjust the automated toll collecting machines. Okay, so what B says is that if you increase the rates of the tolls, you need to pay somebody one time to come and fix the toll collecting machines, enter the new value. But once you do that, so there is a minor cost that you'd incur, but beyond that, you'd be earning a lot of extra money, and that can go towards improving the commuter rail line. So this brings in a minor objection. It says that, hey, your plan is good, but you would require this one, you must incur this one-time cost. Beyond that, it does nothing. So let's remove it. C, between the time a proposed toll increase is announced and the time the increase is actually put into effect, many commuters buy more tokens than usual to postpone the effects of the increase. Okay, so let us say that they announce that, hey, we are going to charge you an increased fare, increased toll 30 days from now. So in these interim 30 days, people may start buying some tokens in advance in order to save that money. But eventually, sooner or later, eventually, those tokens will run out and then they will have to pay the increased toll. So they'd only be able to postpone the effect of the increase. So what this says is that, hey, you are not going to earn that extra money straight away. There can be a lag in it. But so what? After a lag, you're anyway doing it for 5 years, right? So after that lag, you can start getting the money and then you can start financing your project. And that's fine. So even this does not provide us with something which is very solid. All it says is that the benefits are not going to be instant. D, when tolls were last increased on the two bridges in question, almost 20% of the regular commuter traffic switched to a slightly longer alternative route that has since been improved. Now, if this is true, then what does it mean? You are counting on increased toll collection. But then this says that if you increase the toll rate, what happens? In the past, when that was done, there was a 20% fall in the ridership on the bridge. People started taking an alternate route. Now, not only that, that alternate route has since then been improved as well, which means that that alternate route has also become more attractive. So, if D is true and if past trends continue, the moment you increase it, you will notice a reduction in the traffic, and it is not a minor reduction. Last time around it was almost 20%. So let us say even this time around almost 20% commuters stop using those bridges. So far, let us say you were earning $1,000 per day. Now you'd actually be earning $800 plus the increase in the toll. Now, will your increase in the toll be so steep that it will cover up that gap? That's a huge gap, right? Imagine in order to get those extra 200 rupees, you would simply have to increase the, you'd have to raise the toll by 25%. And after 25%, you'll only reach that earlier level. You're not even making money now. So this definitely tells us that there is going to be a problem. You may not see the desired result, and if you increase the toll significantly, the ridership on the bridge is also going to decline along with that. So this so far is the strongest challenge to their plan. So they were assuming that by increasing, we will be able to earn extra money. D gives us something that says that, hey, the chances of yours earning extra money through that increase are not very bright. So let's eliminate C and keep D in the running. E, the chairman of the authority is a member of the Tri-State Automobile Club that has registered strong opposition to the proposed toll increases. So there is a club that says, hey, don't increase the tolls. And the chairman of this authority is also a member of that club. So the toll will be increased or not? We don't know that, right? At best, E can say that their chances of going ahead with this plan are low because the chairman himself will scuttle it. But the question is not about weakening the fact that the plan will be implemented or not. The question is about weakening the effectiveness of the plan, that if you were to go ahead with it, it is not going to be effective. So E to that extent appears tempting but is actually irrelevant. You can remove this. So our best answer here is option D. So with that, let's now dive into our next question. So question number 2 on your screen. Once again, pause, solve, come back. Okay, so I hope that you're through with it. So let's go ahead and check this. As usual, starting with the question stem, which of the following, if true, casts the most serious doubt on the adequacy of the Arundian politicians' justification for the proposed legislation? So there is going to be some legislation here put forth by the politicians. They have also provided some justification for it, and we need to weaken that proposed legislation. So let's check. Manufacturing plants in Arundia have recently been acquired in substantial numbers by investors from abroad. Okay. Arundian politicians are proposing legislative action to stop such investment, justifying the proposal by arguing that foreign investors opportunistically exploiting a recent fall in the value of the Arundian currency were able to buy Arundian assets at less than their true value. Okay, so what do we know? There is a country, there are foreigners who are buying some businesses in the country, and the politicians are saying that, okay, these guys are being opportunistic. So basically their assumption here is that these foreign investors have no interest in running these plants. All they want to do is earn a quick buck. So because their country's currency has weakened vis-a-vis the currency of those other people, they found the valuations to be cheap. So they have bought it. And as a result, that they are getting it at less than their true value. So let's see which one weakens it. So anything that weakens it will tell us that no, they are not opportunistic. Their justification is that foreign investors are opportunistically exploiting a recent fall. So we are questioning that justification. We want to prove that they are not opportunists who are exploiting a recent fall. Let's start. So A, the Arundian government originally welcomed the fall in the value of the Arundian currency because the fall made Arundian exports more competitive on international markets. So this says that, hey, there is this another factor that the country thought was a net positive for them. But then this factor they're buying, is it opportunistic or not? It could be. There is nothing here that tells us that it is not opportunistic. So this is irrelevant. B, foreign investors who acquired manufacturing plants generally did so with no intention of keeping and running those plants over the long term. Now, if this is true, then it is going to strengthen the justification. This tells us that, hey, they don't really have plans of keeping and running. They are probably buying them to make a quick buck. When their currency strengthens, they'd be able to just sell it to somebody else, make a profit, and then move out. And if that is true, they are indeed being opportunistic. So definitely no. C, without the recent fall in the value of the Arundian currency, many of the Arundian assets bought by foreign investors would have been beyond the financial reach of those investors. Okay, so this says that the fall has uh, given those investors an opportunity to buy it now. Now they can afford it. Earlier they could not afford it. So now they can afford it, but are they opportunistically exploiting it or not? We don't know. So this is irrelevant. Now imagine that you and I, both of us want to speculate in a property market. And we look around and we realize that a typical house sells for 50 lakh rupees. Now you have 50 lakh rupees, you are putting in that money, you are speculating. I don't have those 50 lakh rupees, but somehow I just see that there is a crash in the market which has brought the prices down to 20 lakhs. Now I can invest. Now I have that kind of money, so I'm putting in money. But my purpose is also not to buy a house, but to speculate. Right? So merely because I can afford it does not automatically mean that I'm not opportunistic. I can still be opportunistic. So even this gets, as a result, ruled out. D, in Concordia, a country broadly similar to Arundia, the share of manufacturing assets that is foreign controlled is 60% higher than it is in Arundia. Okay, so all it says is that there is another country where foreign investors, the share of foreign investors in manufacturing plants is 60% higher. So in Concordia, those investors are opportunistic or not? Are they benefiting the country or not? We don't know that. And unless we know that, we'd not be able to determine whether they are opportunistic or not. So even this is beyond the scope. E, the true value of an investment is determined by the value of the profits from it, and the low value of the Arundian currency has depressed the value of any profits earned by foreign investors from Arundian assets. So what E says is that because the currency has fallen, the profits that one can earn from Arundian manufacturing plants has also fallen. So if somebody has put in a money in the country, even in this scenario, even when the profits are depressed, it means that they're not being opportunistic. Had they been opportunistic, they would have chased higher profits. But here we are saying that the profits are not really going to be high. So this tells us that, hey, they're not being opportunistic. There is something else at play that weakens their justification. And that is why our answer here must be option E. And with that, let me take you over to your next question. Hit pause, answer, and then join me. Okay, so let's start. Which of the following, if true, would most weaken the microbiologist's reasoning? So let us see what the microbiologist has to say. So here is our microbiologist. He says that a lethal strain of Salmonella recently showed up in a European country, causing an outbreak of illness that killed 2 people and infected 27 others. So a fact is being given to us. Investigators blame the severity of the outbreak on the overuse of antibiotics. So आउटब्रेक हुआ, इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स आए, वो किस चीज को ब्लेम कर रहे हैं? ओवर यूज ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक्स को. क्यों? Here is that reason. Because the Salmonella bacteria tested were shown to be drug resistant. So these people had some infection. But the strain of Salmonella was drug resistant, so you could not kill the bacteria in the body, and that is why the people died. And why could you not kill them? Why did they become drug resistant? Because of this fact, overuse of antibiotics. but this is unlikely. Now comes the author, okay? Now comes the counter argument. But this is unlikely because patients in the country where the outbreak occurred cannot obtain antibiotics to treat illness without a prescription. So when they say that it is caused by overuse of antibiotics, they are wrong, because in this country you cannot get antibiotics without prescription, and the country's doctors prescribe antibiotics less readily than do doctors in any other European country. So basically यार यहाँ पे ना इन्होंने एक रीजन दिया कि यार ये रीजन क्या था आउटब्रेक का, ओवर यूज ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक्स, और ऑथर इसको कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट कर रहा है, बोल रहा है नहीं नहीं यार ओवर यूज ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक नहीं हो सकता बाबा रीजन, क्योंकि इस कंट्री में तो एंटीबायोटिक्स दिए ही नहीं जाते ज्यादा, आप खुद से ले नहीं सकते, डॉक्टर प्रिस्क्राइब करते नहीं, तो ओवर यूज ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक्स का कोई चांस है ही नहीं, राइट? अब हमको क्या करना है, हमें माइक्रोबायोलॉजिस्ट की रीजनिंग को वीकन करना है, ऑथर की नहीं, यानी कि वी वांट टू फर्दर सपोर्ट this part that it's not caused by overuse of antibiotics and weaken this part that says that it is caused by overuse of antibiotics. So let's start. A, physicians in the country where the outbreak occurred have become hesitant to prescribe antibiotics since they are frequently in short supply. Does it weaken? It does. B, people in the country where the outbreak occurred often consume foods produced from animals that eat antibiotics laden livestock feed. Okay, so this, what does this do? It says that hey, here are countries where people eat those animals that were given antibiotics laden livestock feed. So chances are that these animals had salmonella, and because they were given antibiotics laden livestock feed, they developed those conditions, and the strain was also resistant because of overuse of antibiotics. So does this go on to weaken microbiologist reasoning, or does it strengthen? So it is being caused by overuse of, B says it is caused by overuse of antibiotics. It is just that they were not used in the people, but in the animals that they were eating. Okay, then C, use of antibiotics in two countries that neighbor the country where the outbreak occurred has risen over the past decade. But that's about the other countries. How is it relevant for this particular country? Are we saying that, so you need to add one more thing, that the strain of to C, and that is the strain of Salmonella could have come from there, from those countries where there is an overuse. So there are two problems with C. Number one, it says that it has risen. It does not mean that they are being overused automatically. Number two, we do not know whether the Salmonella is coming, this strain of Salmonella is coming from there or not. So this is ruled out. D, drug resistant strains of Salmonella have not been found in countries in which antibiotics are not generally available. This actually goes on to strengthen, right? This is going to support the microbiologist's argument. E, Salmonella has been shown to spread easily along the distribution chains of certain vegetables such as raw tomatoes. Okay, it gets distributed, but why is it, but how has it become drug resistant? Is it because of overuse of antibiotics? We don't know that. So there's only one option that goes ahead and creates it, creates a scenario which says that, it must not be overuse of antibiotics, and that is A. So that's going to be our answer here. With that, let's now dive into our next question. Once again, hit pause and then we'll talk. Okay, so I hope that you are ready to discuss it now. You solved it, right? किया ना? Spectator spot की तरह तो नहीं ले रहे हो ना? चलो. So which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? I love these simple question stems. तो चलिए देखें argument क्या है. The earliest Mayan pottery found at Kola in Belize is about 3000 years old. एक fact मिला. Recently, however, 4500 years old stone agricultural implements were unearthed at Kola. एक और fact मिला. तो हमें क्या मिला? Mayan pottery कोला में 3000 साल पुरानी. उसके बाद हमें 4500 साल पुराने एग्रीकल्चरल इंप्लीमेंट्स, इक्विपमेंट्स, मशीन्स, टूल्स मिले. These implements resemble Mayan stone implements of a much later period. तो मतलब ये यहाँ पे 4500 साल पुराना एक एग्रीकल्चरल इंप्लीमेंट मिला स्टोन से बना हुआ. लेट अस से रेक मिला हमें इस डिजाइन का. ठीक है भाई, ये डिजाइन. और हमने क्या देखा कि मायन स्टोन इंप्लीमेंट्स जो थे, जो काफी बाद के थे, हाँ लेट्स से हमें कोई 3000 साल पुराना भी एक मायन स्टोन इंप्लीमेंट मिला, उसका डिजाइन भी ऐसा ही था. ये बोल रहे हैं. हाँ, moreover the implement designs are strikingly different from the designs of stone implements produced by other cultures known to have inhabited the area in prehistoric times. तो 4,500 साल पहले ऐसा एक इंप्लीमेंट मिला. मायंस का 3000 साल पहले का इंप्लीमेंट भी है जो इसको रिजेंबल करता है, लेकिन इसी एरिया में इनसे पहले जो बाकी सिविलाइजेशंस रहती थी उनका इस इंप्लीमेंट का या इन इंप्लीमेंट्स का डिजाइन अलग था. हाँ, बाकी लोगों का देखते तो आपको किसी का ऐसे मिलता, हाँ किसी का ऐसे मिलता, ऐसा नहीं था उनका. हाँ, सो इससे यहां पे हमने क्या कंक्लूड कर लिया? देयरफॉर there were surely Mayan settlements in Kola 4500 years ago. So ये हमारा conclusion आ गया. डन. तो अब पूरा आर्ग्यूमेंट एक बार रिविजिट करें तो हम बोल रहे हैं कोला में 4500 साल पहले मायन सेटलमेंट्स थी. क्यों? क्योंकि वहां पे जो स्टोन इंप्लीमेंट्स मिले 4500 साल पहले, वो मायन स्टोन इंप्लीमेंट्स के जैसे हैं. ये अलग बात कि हमने वो मायन स्टोन इंप्लीमेंट्स काफी बाद में देखे, बाद में हमें इस तरह के मिले. और प्लस दे आर अनलाइक एनी अदर सिविलाइजेशंस. तो मतलब दे मस्ट हैव बीन मेड बाय द मायंस. हाँ, तो यहां पे अजम्पशन क्या है? अजम्पशन ये है कि ये मायंस का डिजाइन था, मायंस ही बनाते थे, मायंस ने किसी और से कॉपी नहीं किया था. मायंस डिड नॉट इमिटेट दोज अर्लियर सिविलाइजेशंस. तो चलिए चेक करें. ए, सिरेमिक वेयर इज नॉट नोन टू हैव बीन यूज्ड बाय द मायन पीपल टू मेक एग्रीकल्चरल इंप्लीमेंट्स. हम तो स्टोन की बात कर रहे हैं, सिरेमिक की बात ही नहीं कर रहे, तो ये इररेलेवेंट हो गया. बी, carbon dating of corn pollen in Kola indicates that agriculture began there around 4500 years ago. Once again, agriculture began does not necessarily mean that Mayans were living there, right? So you can remove this as well. All it says is कि हाँ agriculture era इतने साल पहले शुरू हुआ था. Mayans थे कि नहीं थे, can't say. C, जबकि हम प्रूव ये करना चाहते हैं Mayans थे नहीं वहां पे, है ना. Archaeological evidence indicates that some of the oldest stone implements found at Kola were used to cut away vegetation after controlled burning of trees to open areas of swampland for cultivation. Okay, तो हमें ये पता है कि ये जो implements थे, कुछ implements they were used to cut away vegetation. कि आपने पौधे उगाए, फिर आग लगा दी, सब जला दिया, जो बच गया उसको काट लिया. तो इससे ये जो implements थे या ये जो यहाँ पे लोग रह रहे थे वो मायंस थे कि नहीं थे? डू वी गेट टू नो दैट? वी डोंट. सो हटा दो, इररेलेवेंट है. डी, सक्सेसर कल्चर्स एट अ गिवन साइट often adopt the style of agricultural implements used by earlier inhabitants of the same site. अब सोचो, ये बेसिकली ये बोलता है कि किसी एक एरिया में कोई एक कल्चर थी. हाँ, लेट्स से, लेट मी जस्ट इरेज दिस ऑल. हाँ, कि भाई एक कोई नॉन मायन लोग रहते थे. दे हैड अ पर्टिकुलर डिजाइन फॉर देयर इंप्लीमेंट्स. व्हाट डी सेज इज दैट इसके बाद अगर इनको किसी दूसरे कल्चर ने सब्स्टिट्यूट किया तो वो भी सेम एग्रीकल्चरल इंप्लीमेंट्स ही यूज कर लेते हैं. So what this says is that the culture that comes after borrows the design from the culture that was earlier. So this entire argument depends on what? Design of 4500 years ago. a stone implement which is 4500 year old is similar to the design used by Mayans, और हमें ये पता है कि Mayans 3000 साल पहले तो थे ही वहां पे. सो इससे ये एक पॉसिबिलिटी निकल करके आती है कि मायंस 4500 साल पहले वहां नहीं हो, ये बाद में आए, और वो स्टोन इंप्लीमेंट्स का डिजाइन सेम इसलिए है क्योंकि they typically end up copying the designs of earlier inhabitants. So this definitely weakens. E. Many religious and social institutions of the Mayan people who inhabited Kola 3000 years ago relied on a highly developed system of agriculture symbols. Implement से symbols वैसे ही irrelevant है, आप हटा सकते हैं. So the best answer that we have here is option D. चलिए, with that let's dive into our next question. So here it is on the screen once again. No spectator spot. Hit the pause button, answer the question, and then join me. So shall we start? आइए देखें. Which of the following, if true, would tend to weaken most seriously the prediction of scientific secrecy described above? Let's read. So with the emergence of biotechnology company, it was feared that they would impose silence about proprietary results on their in-house researchers and their academic consultants. Okay. So भाई biotechnology companies आई, इन्होंने की कुछ रिसर्च किसने की? इनके इन हाउस रिसर्चर्स और कंसल्टेंट्स ने. अब ये बोल रहे हैं कि इनकी रिसर्च के जो फाइंडिंग्स होंगे वो ये लोगों के साथ शेयर नहीं करेंगे. क्यों? प्रोप्राइटरी है ना. आप देखो ना, आप खर्चा करके रिसर्च कर रहे हो तो आप चाहोगे कि वो रिसर्च आपके पास ही रहे, आप ही को फायदा हो, तो यू विल बी secretive about it. This constraint in turn would slow the development of biological science and engineering. तो मतलब नॉर्मली अगर कोई साइंटिफिक डिस्कवरी होती है और वो सबको पता है तो सब उसका यूज कर सकते हैं. कोई नए रिसर्चर्स उसी के बारे में सोच के कुछ आगे और चीजें बिल्ड कर सकते हैं. अब अगर वो आएंगी नहीं फाइंडिंग्स तो ऑब्वियसली आपकी जो साइंटिफिक डिस्कवरी की प्रोसेस है वो स्लो हो जाएगी. हाँ, तो हमें क्या करना है? We want to weaken the prediction of scientific secrecy described above. So here the author says that these companies are going to be secretive about their proprietary results. We want to prove that they are not going to be secretive about their proprietary results. चलिए देखें. A. Biotechnological research funded by industry has reached some conclusions that are of major scientific importance. Okay, fantastic. But यहां तक ये आ तो गए, अब ये इसको शेयर करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे इसके बारे में तो इससे कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता. सो दैट मेक्स इट इररेलेवेंट. हाउ अबाउट बी? व्हेन द रिजल्ट्स ऑफ साइंटिफिक रिसर्च आर केप्ट सीक्रेट, independent researchers are unable to build on those results. ये तो सपोर्ट कर रहा है, तो ये भी गया, हमें तो वीकन करना था. Since the research priorities of biotechnology companies are not the same as those of academic institutions, the financial support of research by such companies distorts the research agenda. So what C says is that your research agenda can get distorted. भाई देखो, प्राइवेट कंपनीज ना प्रॉफिट मोटिव से काम करती हैं. सो अगर कहीं दुनिया के किसी कोने में कोई पुअर पॉपुलेशन है जहां हजारों लोग हर साल किसी बीमारी से मर रहे हैं, हाँ, उनके लिए आप अगर मेडिसिन बनाए तो वो लोग बच जाएंगे, मगर उससे कोई प्रॉफिट नहीं होगा क्योंकि पुअर कॉर्नर है, लोगों के पास पेइंग कैपेसिटी है नहीं, तो आप रिसर्च में शायद पैसा ना लगाएं. जबकि यहीं कहीं रिच नेशंस में आपको दिखे कि कुछ लोग, उनको लगता है कि यार मुझे ना कोई ऐसा क्रीम मिल जाए जिससे मेरे रिंकल्स कम हो जाए, मिल जाए तो मैं तो खरीद लूं. हाँ, तो ये कोई लाइफ थ्रेटनिंग चीज नहीं है, ये तो एस्थेटिक वाली चीज है. पर जो कि पैसा यहां से कमाया जा सकता है, तो ये लोग एजेंडा, रिसर्च एजेंडा ऐसा ड्राइव करें कि वो इसको प्रियोरिटाइज करें. हाँ, अमीरों के एस्थेटिक्स को गरीबों की जिंदगी से ज्यादा. राइट? तो वो सीक्रेटिव होंगे कि नहीं होंगे उसको लेकर के सी कुछ नहीं बोल रहा. सो यू कैन रूल इट आउट. डी. To enhance the company's standing in the scientific community, the biotechnology companies encourage employees to publish their results especially results that are important. So if D is true, then it says that they are not going to be secretive. They will publish. Why? Because it enhances the company's understanding. तो ये हमें बताता है कि यार ये ना secret नहीं रखेंगे. So this definitely weakens that concern. Biotechnology companies devote some of their research resources to problems that are of fundamental scientific importance and that are not expected to produce immediate practical applications. Okay, so they may do that. But when they find some results, when the findings come out, they are secretive about those, or do they share those with the wider world? Once again, we do not know. And that is why even this is irrelevant. So the only one that weakens it is option D, and therefore that's the one that we should go ahead and choose as our answer. Okay, so that's what I brought for you today in this particular session. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me here. It's a QR code of a Telegram group that gives you direct access to me. And before I sign out, here is something that I have for you. So remember who you want to be, and through that, be who you want to be. Right? So that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you guys in the next one. Until then, have a great time ahead, and I'll see you soon.